Hello everyone, welcome to Digital Learning 101. The title of this video is Adding Context, and this is the first of our more meatier, if you would, educational topics. Our first couple were kind of broad strokes. Now we're going to start to get into some of the elements of how we actually do this. So what we're talking about with adding context is that what we see a lot of times when teachers start to shift to a digital learning experience or distance learning experience is that they leave out a lot of the contextual things that they just by nature of being a teacher add to a teaching environment in a classroom when all the students are there. For example, what we mean by this is if you bring a video in to say, for example, or a short video snippet that you want your students to see in a classroom, what you're going to do is you're going to say hi to the students, you're going to start the class, you're going to do these different things. Then you're going to talk probably about your learning objectives and what the goals are behind watching this video. Then you're going to have the students watch the video and you might ask them to keep a couple things in mind as they're watching the video. Then they're going to get done and you're going to give them something to do with the video, maybe answering some questions or kind of creating some kind of a reflection or some kind of a discussion or something like that. Then you're probably going to end that experience by pointing to what'll happen next. When teachers shift to a distance learning environment, they forget a lot of those things. And if this sounds like a no-brainer, that's great. But I can't tell you how many times we've worked with teachers that have shifted towards teaching remotely, and you look at a page in one of their courses and on a learning management system, and all that's there is like a link to an assignment. There's nothing like, what should I do with it? Do you want me to write the answers? Do you want me to look at the answers? There's no instructions. There's no context around it. And there's no human being there. It's just this thing. Could be just a link to a video. All the context is gone. That's super demotivating for students. Students will be very unlikely to do it. And even if they try to do it, they're likely to get it wrong because they have no idea what's in your head. That context that by nature you're going to explain in a classroom, but so easy to forget when you're in a distance environment or trying to do something through distance learning. So what are the good elements of context? Well, there's really kind of just a small handful of numbers that you want to keep in mind. And the good thing about it is that it doesn't take too long to create a wraparound of these different contextual elements in any kind of distance learning experience. The first thing is, at a bare minimum, you want instructions. Clear instructions, what the student's supposed to do with that resource. So if you've got a video, you want to say, click on the link below, watch this 5-minute video about this thing. And as you're watching this video, I'd like you to do this. After you're done with the video, please answer these 3 questions and then give instructions how you want them submitted to you, kind of thing like that. So the type of instructions and comprehensive instructions is really important. That's the default number 1. The second thing is, be a human being. Add a greeting at the top of the page, or the top of, if it's in a learning management system, the top of the page. If it's on a written worksheet that's going home to kids, say, hey class, how you doing? Or how is it? Add something to be a human being, to check in how they might be doing emotionally. Even at distance, that stuff is powerful. So add your teacher presence to that document. The third thing is, as we mentioned with the overall design of a course, you still want to do this with the individual elements of a course. Is start with the learning objectives. So, well, after your greeting. So you got your greeting. Bring in those learning objectives. That's the why. And put them in student-friendly terms so the students know why they're supposed to do this activity that you're asking them to do. They don't get that if you're not there to tell them that. And so many times, even though you have a really good idea what it is, kids aren't going to buy into the activity until they know what it is and why it is they're expected to do the thing they're doing. We want to avoid that mentality of busy work, point them in the direction where you're hoping they can go and how this experience fits into that bigger picture. So what are they supposed to learn? What are they supposed to express? What are they supposed to develop? What are they supposed to work on by doing that learning experience? The next thing is, a lot of times as kids are doing things, say for example, they're working on a worksheet, there might be some anticipated sticking points. The places that you know kids are going to get stuck, or places where kind of things you want them thinking about as they're doing an activity or working on something or watching something or reading something. Right before they start that activity, it's always a good idea to put 1 or 2 of those big ones in there. For example, if it's a math worksheet or they're working on some math stuff, and you might say, one place where students sometimes get stuck is right here. If you get stuck here, refer to this explanation because this will help you get unstuck. Those types of things can be really helpful, and a lot of times teachers with just a little bit of reflection, they can anticipate what those sticking points are, or they can anticipate what they want in students' heads as they're doing an activity that's going to help the students complete the activity better. And again, put these in your own human voice, be a human being as you're writing these out. The last thing would say that you want with kind of adding context to a digital experience or digital activity is at the end of that activity, have some kind of a congratulatory or some kind of a human remark in there again, like good job, nice work getting, if you've made it through this, that's great. This was what we did today. Next up, and some kind of a little segue perhaps to what's going on next. The other thing to say about all of this is you don't want to write a ton because we know, unfortunately, people don't read stuff. So if you write 3 paragraphs of this kind of stuff, people are just going to skim over it and they're going, it's too much. So really quick, couple sentences for a greeting, maybe a sentence or 2 for a learning objective, sentence or 2 for kind of anticipated problems in terms of what you think might go wrong, sentence or 2 at the bottom. You can add this type of context in maybe 5-10 minutes. A lot of times it's copy paste and tweak a little bit from other things that you've done. So it shouldn't take a long time, and you don't want to overwhelm kids with text because overwhelming them with text is just as bad as having no content whatsoever. So that is Digital Learning 101 tip number 3, add context. At some point in the near future, I'm going to try to put a template PDF down below in the description that you'll be able to look at it to kind of give an example perhaps of bad context and good context. That isn't ready yet, but we'll try to get that in there in case that would help. Have a great day.